Oh, it was a massive TikTok moment that's over. The American life of luxury over. Immigration, Customs, and Enforcement has arrested the niece and grandniece of an Iranian general the U.S. just killed during President Trump's first term. ICE busted them shortly after the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, revoked their green cards. The pair had posted praise for Iran's regime and celebrations of attacks on the U.S. At the same time, they were living a very high lifestyle in L.A. Senior foreign policy correspondent Jillian Turner has more from the State Department. Jillian.
Good morning to you, Harris. These relatives of Qasem Soleimani did more than just praise Iran's regime and enemy of the United States on social media. These women publicly supported the IRGC, that's Iran's military, that's designated a foreign terrorist organization here in the United States. The Trump administration says that amounts to material support in this case. So take these women, the niece and the grandniece of Qasem Soleimani, they are in ICE custody now, pending removal from the U.S. The Secretary of State says the move came after he terminated their legal status in the country last week, posting on X. Until recently, Hamideh Soleimani Afshar and her daughter were green card holders living lavishly in the U.S. She celebrated attacks on Americans and referred to our country as the, quote, Great Satan. President Trump often touts the operation he had authorized in his first term to take out Qasem Soleimani, a notorious killer responsible for the deaths of tens of thousands of people. He counts it among his greatest counterterrorism achievements to this very day. Take a listen to the president a moment ago.
We killed Soleimani. Without Soleimani, if they had Soleimani, it would be a whole different thing. Mick would still be winning, but it would have been harder because we are obliterating that country.
I don't think so.
Well, Soleimani's niece entered the U.S. on a tourist visa in 2015, eventually secured asylum, then obtained a green card. Despite frequent trips home back to Iran, she sought relentlessly during her time here to become an influencer on social media.
Yes,
her daughter came to the U.S. that same year on a student visa and essentially never left. She, too, spent much of her time promoting herself and her American lifestyle on social media platforms. Harris, the hypocrisy here, I mean, barely warrants a mention. It is self-evident. If these women were back home living under the rule of the regime they say they love, they would not be allowed to post on social media. They would not be allowed to go out in public alone or even take selfies. They would not be allowed to attend college or school. They would be living under Sharia law. It would be a very different situation. Harris?
Jillian Turner, thank you very much. Former Department of Homeland Security advisor and former Secret Service agent Charles Marino is with me now. Charles, a lot of people have been asking, how in the world did they stay here? That nobody ever said anything after, you know, their relative being annihilated in Trump's first term. We know that he was an enemy. The military took him out.
Well, it's the right question to be asking right now, especially since it appears that as a country, we still haven't learned the lessons of September 11th, 2001, where shortly after those attacks, the Saudi government requested that the FBI assist in relocating over 24 members of the bin Laden family after that attack. We knew he was leading al-Qaeda. We knew he was an adversary of the United States, and yet we had 24 of his family members here in the United States. Wow. And this is the same situation. I think the American people would be shocked to learn how many people we have allowed into the country, either through claims of asylum or on student visas or tourist visas, that are associated with adversarial countries, including the leaders of those countries. This needs to stop. We have got to understand that countries like China, for example, who continue to exploit American universities for the theft of intellectual property and destruction of scientific data, etc., continue to flood and exploit the immigration policies of the United States. And I don't think the American people should have to learn another tough lesson through another act of terrorism to understand that our policies are backwards right now. And some of our elected leaders continue to bury their heads in the sand and live in this augmented reality that just doesn't match what's going on the ground.
Look, having worked at DHS as an advisor, I mean, you know the details of what it can cost us, not just with 9/11, but just overall. It sows the seeds with other enemies like, well, maybe we can go to America after hating them and threatening to kill Americans and become an influencer. A new editorial with this headline: California should thank ICE for arresting Iranian terror generals' high living relatives. And here's part of that. It is unusual for the families of America's sworn enemies to support the bad guys so openly while enjoying the California sunshine. Soleimani's relatives must have thought they were immune. After all, they lived in a sanctuary state. But as Rubio noted, Secretary of State, a green card is a privilege, not a right. And you cannot support America's enemies and expect to stay in the country. Charles.
Well, and I don't think the administration is holding their breath,
Now,
waiting for.
I'll say this. Oh, I forgot to say. Shut up. Hey, Edna. Hey, boo. Hey, boo. I'll say this. This store right here, like I said, they were, living a luxurious life, and they was agreeing everything. Listen, I know what our administration has going on right now is just so backwards, so wrong, so uninformative, so just we don't really understand what's going on half of the time. But to be over here and a lot of people are, and I've seen people that's actually rooting for the other side. I just really wish none of it would have happened. But yeah, that's what happened. They was over there in California. I'm just reporting the news. They was over in California living life of luxury, and then Rubio found out, and they was online. But girl, you can't come to America trying to be an American influencer, and then check the you have to, when you move to these countries, please check the history of the country. America ain't that. I'm sorry. I'm just saying America ain't been there, ain't been there, ain't never gonna be there. I'm just saying. They just look how we are now. Yeah, they don't want us there.